Although I'm afraid that at a time like this, our words just come up way too short of filling the void that certainly they have to be experiencing. Adam Petty, dead at the age of 19. We now go trackside here at the New Hampshire International Speedway as the NASCAR family remembers
Almighty
Adam
God,
Petty.
we thank you for this day that you have given to each of us. We pray thy blessing upon each driver and their family for safety. We pray for every race that will take place on this track. I pray your blessing upon the day that we celebrate tomorrow, Mother's Day. Now our hearts are deeply saddened upon the sudden loss of Christian Lovendell and Adam Petty. We ask for thy strength and comfort for their families. In thy name we pray. Now let us pause for a moment of silence. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming in the rocket's red glare, the balls bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Gentlemen, start your engines.
And with that command, we are set to go racing here at the New Hampshire International Speedway. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Eli Gold, joined alongside me by the editor of Speedway Illustrated magazine, Dr. Dick Berggren. What a very different and unfortunate atmosphere here at the racetrack this weekend, Dick.
Well, the mood in New Hampshire today is sad and somber. Adam Petty is the son of an admired racing family. He was admired himself. In the garage, in the grandstand, on pit road, there is disbelief and profound grief. But we have a race to run today, a green flag, pit stops, a winner to celebrate. This race will go on, but not like the rest. Today is hard on all who are here, Adam's family, his friends, his fans. This race will be less because Adam Petty is not driving in it. He is here in spirit, and that colors this day and this event. He was a Petty. He was so young, so very, very well liked.
He really was very well liked. Buddy Baker joins us as well as per usual, Racing Hall of Famer. And I think, as the doctor just said, here was a young man who brought us all so much joy.
You know, you're so sad at a time like this, but let's celebrate the time we had with Adam. He was such a young man. He would walk through the garage area. Smiles followed him through there, almost like the sun was shining through the garage area. People felt better. They knew him. They loved him. We'll miss him.
Part of our pit coverage team today is NASCAR Winston Cup Series crew chief. Regrettably, not that many years ago, had to deal with a situation just like this with the loss of Davey Allison. And Larry, this is something that the whole sport, let alone just one team, has to deal with.
Well, Eli, it's been well spoken how much our thoughts and prayers go out to the Petties, to the racing fraternity in general, and even the race fans. But how about Adam Petty's race team? How do they deal with such a tragedy? I certainly speak from experience, from my experience with Davey Allison in 1993, and it's probably the hardest thing that a race team would ever have to deal with. They certainly have to have time to grieve. They'll never totally get over this situation, but what they've got to do, they've got to help each other, support each other, and move onward to the future. A lot like Davey Allison, Adam Petty being the racer that he was, he would want them to do that, and that's what he expects them to do. Adam, we're going to miss you, but our thoughts certainly go to Petty Enterprises.
And wrapping up our members of the broadcast crew today, the proud member of another racing family like the Pettys, Glenn Jarrett.
Well, thanks, Eli. I've written a statement here that I'm going to have to read. I don't think that I could get through it without reading it, so please bear with me. None of us can even begin to quantify the loss suffered by the Petty family yesterday here with the tragic death of Adam. He was a very bright, talented, and immensely popular young man. My own family has also grown up around the sport of NASCAR racing, and while we're always aware of the risks, we're never quite ready for the consequences, particularly consequences like these. NASCAR drivers, teams, and their families always have been and forever will be a very close-knit community. This morning throughout the garage area here, there is a very profound sense of loss. One of our own was taken away far too soon. The Petty family name is synonymous with auto racing, particularly NASCAR. We can never repay them for what they've done for the sport and for what they will always mean for our sport. From my family and from all of the families in racing to the Petty family, we are deeply sorry for your loss. We too have lost a family member. Our thoughts and our prayers are with you.
Glenn, very well said. And as you see the field now taking the 2-to-go signal, our pole sitter in the Stanley Chevrolet, Tim Fedowa, has dropped back a little bit, leaving the pole position vacant ceremonially here today. The missing pole sitter formation, as it's called, and the world of NASCAR racing, and thankfully it is something we've not had to see too very often over the years. Every time you do see it, though, it seemingly is one time too many. But the drivers sharing their private thoughts and honoring Adam Petty here on the parade and pace laps at the New Hampshire International Speedway. But as Dr. Dick said before, we do have a race to run, laps to be completed, a winning driver to be celebrated, and that winner will come out of that group of drivers. Take a look at who's in the field and see how your favorites have done. Tim Fedowa, 4th Busch Series pole. There you see Casey Atwood. He was 5th a year ago. Ricky Craven won here from the pole back in 1991. Ron Hornaday is there. He's won here in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. So too, by the way, have others won here, not only in the trucks, but in other forms of racing. This is a veteran field in many regards, Dick.
And Jay Sauter is one of those, one in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series at New Hampshire. It is a good field. It's a very strong field this afternoon. Looking for a different winner yet again. They've never had a guy win twice here in this event so far.
13 races, 13 different winners. Riding around the Speedway, that is Jason Leffler. He'll be giving us a ride. So too, Jeff Purvis. There's Dick Trickle, who'll be giving us the free ride around the Magic Mile here in New Hampshire. And P.J. Jones on board the yellow freight machine. That is the Emerald Performance Group team that also is suffering their own grief. That man, Christian Lovendahl, the team's crew chief, killed in an auto accident on Friday afternoon of a weekend ago. Christian Lovendahl was Mark Martin's nephew, but in addition to that, he was very much a part of everybody's family here in the world of NASCAR racing. And Christian Lovendahl also being remembered as he was in the invocation that you heard a short while ago. And again, on our telecast and in our prayers here today. George Church taking over as the new crew chief for that number 19 machine. Todd Bodine loves coming up here. It was interesting, he said, being from this area or from New York State, he said, I almost sometimes drive too hard here in New England trying to get to the front. Last year's winner, Elton Sawyer, and the Lysol colors starting from the 7th spot. Mike McLaughlin has a big weekend tomorrow. He and his wife Katie going to their hometown of Waterloo, New York. Their son Max being baptized tomorrow. And Randy LaJoy starting in the 4th spot, as you get a good look at the basically flat New Hampshire International Speedway.
And along with that, you can see them going back and forth there, cleaning the tires, getting ready for the green flag.
This race, 200 laps, that's 211 6/10 of a mile. This track measures 1.058 miles around, and we are glad you're with us. With heavy hearts, yes, but as Adam Petty would have wanted it, we're going racing here in New Hampshire.
3 wide down into turn 1. Into turn 1.
And
Trouble,
not going to
turn 1.
make it. There you see problems right off the bat.
That's Bobby Hillen has crashed. Several others involved in that incident up in turn 1.
There you see the channel lock entry right there. Glenn Allen Jr. having taken over. There's Bobby Hillen. And this is a racetrack that oftentimes brings about many, many caution flags. And as you mentioned, buddy, that 3 wide deal, and then that was it. The track is not going to accommodate 3 wide regularly going into the corner.
Yeah, and Bobby Hillen has a lot of damage, and the back of the Chad Chaffin car there torn completely up. They'll have to work on that car a lot to get it back in the race if they do it all.
See what happens again. A lot of guys get kicked out right there. The 55, that white car, that's Michael Rich.
Looked like Michael Rich might have got in the back of Hillen just a little bit, getting into turn 1 and turned him a little bit sideways. And when you get up there, there's nowhere to go. There's no groove up on the high side of this racetrack. Chad Chaffin hard in the wall there. Looked like Joe Bessie might have bounced off of him in the 6 car.
That blue machine, the powder blue, Glenn Allen Jr., he spins to try and avoid. And as oftentimes it happens in a hurry here at New Hampshire International Speedway. Kevin Harvick is the race leader, but the story is on pit road early in New Hampshire. Still under caution here at the New Hampshire International Speedway. 7 cars involved in a turn 1 tangle on the very first lap. Of course, Kevin Harvick found an opening and managed to sneak on through. Let's ride and see exactly what happens here. Jason Leffler giving us a look.
Mike Dillon in 21 there just did avoid Joe Bessie as he started down across the racetrack.
A lot of guys staying low. Boy, you saw Hillen's car kind of climbing the wall there a little bit. Larry Mack, how significant is the damage on pit road?
Well, it's pretty interesting here on Bobby Hillen's car. Started 16th. A lot of cosmetic damage, which you can live with at Loudon. But the big problem is the upper A-arm plate that the A-arm bolts to on the chassis is bent way in. Got a lot of negative camber kicked in the right front wheel, which means the top is leaned in. It has shims in there for adjustment. So what they're doing is this pretty smart move. They're taking some of the shims out to compensate for the bracket being bent. So he's going to try to get back out there. Not a very good start for Bobby Hillen. Glenn, how about on your end?
Well, Larry, I'll move down to number 55, Michael Rich's pits, and I checked with his crew chief, Skip Eiler. We first contemplated or suspected maybe that there was contact maybe from Michael Rich and somebody else, but that wasn't the case. There was no damage to his car. Michael did spin all the way around 360. He came in last lap, and they took on 4 tires, but they found no problems with the car. What happened, and I saw this too, I was standing right at the end of pit road down there. There was some kind of fluid or something on the racetrack because a whole bunch of cars, when they went into turn 1, they just all at once started sliding up the racetrack. So evidently, one of the cars in front of them must have dropped a little bit of fluid out there because I saw 4, 5, 6 cars heading up that way. Michael Rich just got in it, spun around, came in, got 4 new tires. He's back out, no damage.
Sponsored by the University of Florida Gators, and there's his pit board. No one's going to mistake that for the signal for anybody else to pit. We're going to break away. Coming back in a moment.
$1,000 in the last segment, they'd have had to put a muzzle on me going for that much money.
Let me tell you what, the Winston, if you don't see any other auto race on television for the rest of the year, catch that one. That is a spectacular show under the lights at Lowe's.
And, of course, we will have that for you coming up next Saturday evening right here on TNN Sports. Let's take a look at the point standings coming in. Jeff Green, Todd Bodine, then Matt Kenseth, Randy LaJoie, and Ron Hornaday. There you see the spread among those drivers. Of course, you've got fellas in that group who have already won here. Seemingly everybody has won here, albeit only once. We just don't see repeat NASCAR Busch Series or Craftsman Truck Series winners here at New Hampshire.
It's a tough place. It really is. It's a tough place to get the car just right for, as Todd Bodine, who currently is second in points, has found out. He unloaded the fastest of anybody and just didn't get any faster. So this morning they threw a whole new setup under the car. They looked at all their notes and they decided they were best at Homestead of all the flat tracks. That's where they've had the most success. They've had 0 laps at New Hampshire with the setup under the 66.
Eli, you could see the truck putting the oil dry down. There was definitely fluid in the corner, as Glenn said.
We're going to go to break. As we do, congratulations to Kevin and Jill Triplett. NASCAR's director of operations and his wife became parents yesterday. Congratulations. Step away from going back to green here at New Hampshire International Speedway. Quickly back downstairs, Glenn Jarrett.
Yeah, guys, I moved back down towards turn 1 here, and I'm looking at a pretty good amount of speedy dry in the second groove there, getting into the corner where all that fluid was. I heard Buddy mention that right as we went to break, and none of the guys right now are running through that. I hope they don't have to, because there's one thing you do not want here at New Hampshire with these flat turns. Any speedy dry, anything whatsoever lying in the groove you're trying to choose. So it's going to take them a while before they can get that outside groove to come back in.
And of course, the key here in New Hampshire is being the first guy to get back on the gas exiting the turn, because that's so true at many, many racetracks. But if you can get slowed down without using a lot of brake and then still get on the gas quickly, you're going to be awfully tough to beat. Let's ride with Randy LaJoie now as we get set to go back to green here in New Hampshire. That's how it looked on the restart at lap number 10. And again, virtually no banking in the corner.
That's turn 3 you're looking at as Buckshot Jones moves to the outside. The preferred line is on the bottom. Tim Fedewa takes over second.
So Kevin Harvick, Tim Fedewa, Buckshot Jones, Randy LaJoie, Mike McLaughlin next in line. Here goes LaJoie with a quick jump to the inside.
On the bottom, Buckshot slipped up just a little bit. LaJoie, wham, right there.
And what happens when you get caught on the outside? Look at him railroad him on the inside there. Mike McLaughlin trying to take that spot away on the inside in the 48 car. Nowhere for Buckshot to come down.
McLaughlin in that 48 is incredibly good here at New Hampshire. He has won 6 times here at New Hampshire Speedway, and could he use a win right now? In 11 starts, he's got 10 finishes outside the top 10 this year. Been a tough year for him.
.125 miles an hour. David Green right there in the number 34 machine. The lead is 0.4 of a second, and it closes that quickly because off the corner, Tim Fedewa.
Well, Tim is very, very good on a flat track like this. You can see him looking for that inside groove right now. Harvick gets touched a little bit. Managed to get it back straight and maintain the lead there.
Fedewa also allowed him to get it back straight there.
Yeah, he could have taken him if he wanted to. Fedewa with a new crew chief. Billy Nasowitz has moved over. Nasowitz with Richie Evans and virtually all of his his modified wins. Nasowitz jumped on board at Talladega.
Was that ever a combination in the days of Richie Evans and that orange 61, the Rapid Roman? Here goes Fedewa for the lead at New Hampshire.
Yeah, and he's caught up in Randy LaJoie in the red car there, making a move on the inside, trying to take the second spot away from first to third that quickly.
He's got it.
So they make the swap. And this is going to be the first New Hampshire event that Tim Fedewa has ever led. This is the 8th time he has run here. First time he has ever led. Of course, it has particular significance to that team because the Stanley Tools plant, the sponsor of Fedewa's team, they're up in New Britain or down in New Britain, Connecticut, and they've got hundreds of employees on hand at Loudon here today.
It's also the first time Fedewa has led all year long. Nasowitz obviously has got that car cooking just right. Fedewa having a good time so far early in the day in the number 36 car from Stanley.
Like you said, too, he just likes running on the flat tracks. If you have that kind of a mindset coming into a track like this, or Homestead or Phoenix, it really has to help. Glenn, meanwhile, Buckshot Jones is settled in 4th spot.
Yeah, Eli, but there's a pack of cars that are coming up on him pretty quick, and I think they're going to catch him and shouldn't have too much problem passing him. Buckshot, we've been listening to the radio transmissions. His car is big time loose right now. He just simply cannot use the accelerator as much as he wants up off the corner. Here's Larry.
Glenn, I talked to Winston Cup regular Steve Park this morning, and Steve up here running one of the Winston Busch for national events he runs, and he said, you know, Larry, I was a little happy with my car yesterday, but he said, you know, we don't run for points. We come here to win. I don't think I can win with what I had. He must have went to the school of Larry McReynolds' race morning extravaganzas. He changed 3 springs, 4 shocks, and both sway bars, and he said, I'll either go straight forward or straight back.
That is Jeff Purvis, who has problems going into turn 3, running in the 28th spot. He had sparks coming out from behind the car about 2/3 of the way down the back straightaway. Then the car never did turn. Jeff Purvis brings out the second caution.
If you notice, the screen's already been lowered in the window to let the workers there in the corner know that he's okay. They dropped the screen so that the guys don't run across the racetrack while there's cars coming or anything. He's okay. That's a good sign.
But again, this is a problem that began about 2/3 of the way down the back straightaway. I happened to look up, saw smoke and sparks, and then here's what wrapped it up.
Okay, something on the right front's broken. He goes almost into that corner head on. Now he hits the wall again. You see no steering whatsoever left on that car.
So Jeff Purvis's day comes to a premature finish.
Former dirt track star that everybody thought was going to win a lot of Busch Series races. He has won just 2 so far in his career.
Remember now, Jeff Purvis has been carrying one of our onboard cameras today, and will hopefully be able to get a good look at exactly what transpired. Let's pick it up as he works into the straightaway. Bad feeling.
Wow. And you could, in the shots just before this, you could see the spark flying out from under the right front corner way before he got to the corner there. He was pretty much a passenger after the right front went down.
So caution on the Speedway for the second time, lap number 19 of 200. We're live on TNN at New Hampshire International Speedway. There's Buckshot Jones running in the 4th spot with that Chevrolet again, and there's Elton Sawyer, who's now in 8th, but our winner here a season ago.
Well, you want to see what a car looks like going around here on his way to victory? Long straightaways here. Now watch when he gets on the brakes. You'll see the rotor right there starting to light up, turn red. Out of the throttle quite a ways through the corner, then picking it up very easy. Now he's wide open down the long straightaways here. He'll really get on the brakes pretty hard getting into this corner. You can see the chassis moving. This is the lower control arm. That's your shock right there. A lot of movement in there as you start into these flat corners.
Compare Larry McReynolds, if you would, preparing from a crew chief standpoint for a flat track versus a steeply banked track. Which one gives you guys the harder handle to get, the flat place or the banked place?
Well, there's no question, Eli. A track like Loudon, New Hampshire that's flat, where, you know, you carry a lot of speed getting in the corner and you don't have a banking to run against. And the real problem at Loudon is getting the car to go through the middle. And if you ever get up off the bottom here at Loudon, they'll almost freight train you like they will on the backstretch at Talladega when you lose the drafts. So the whole problem, you carry so much speed, no banking to run against, is getting it to go through the middle of the corner. That's where you beat people at Loudon, is getting through the middle of the corner and getting off the corner.
Larry McReynolds, crew chief in NASCAR Winston Cup Racing, with a bit of a lesson on getting around this racetrack. That guy doesn't need any lessons. That's Tim Fedewa, and he is right now number 1, showing the way. Took the lead at lap number 16. We're now at lap 24. Glenn, he's had himself a good day, and again, he likes this place, so that's got to help.
Well, it does. He has always liked flat racetracks. Got his first couple of wins in this series up at Nazareth. Similar type racetrack to this. I came down to talk to Billy Nazareth. We were talking about Billy, the crew chief, and what a great job he's doing. And if Tim's getting any lessons, he's getting them from Billy, because like you said, Billy has a lot of experience here right now. Tim's saying that the car feels really great right now. He's not running it all that hard. He's just trying to let the tires seat in. Billy also told me that they could probably go to lap 105 if necessary, which it doesn't take a whole lot of figuring to see that they could go halfway. So they could make this thing on one pit stop. And one reason that they'll try to do that, track position is of the key utmost importance here at New Hampshire. You don't want to pit unless you absolutely have to. So they're looking at going at least halfway.
There are the guys doing all their ciphering down there, as we say in Alabama, figuring out that mileage and making sure everything is going to go to the distance.
Yeah, that was the gas man. You can see he was in a full hood there, fire protection and everything. So he was figuring his gas mileage just then.
There you see Fedewa along with Kevin Harvick, one of the guys who hasn't had a win here. Fedewa's best finish was a 6th place here back in 1993. So he is not one of those who has a win in the 13 events at this track.
And if you like to root for an underdog, you might consider the guy who's in the lead. In the last 3 races, Tim Fedewa has swapped crew chiefs, crashed out, failed to qualify, and finished 20th when the car fell off the jack. He needs a good day. Today might be it.
Getting set for the restart here in New Hampshire, wrapping up caution flag number 2.
Sawyer there on the inside trying to take that spot.
Couldn't get the jump on David Green, though.
No, he couldn't quite make it, but he's there, and he let him know he's there. And he's probably going to keep the pressure on him and try to get by him going down in the next corner.
You see NASCAR timing and scoring in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, all those Chevrolets. You can see how your favorite driver is doing. Folks at Napa, where NASCAR fans get their hearts. Bring you the scoring rundown.
Eli, you can see Alton Sawyer got by that group. David Green caught on the outside as they made the pass in the turn just before now. Jeff Green in the 10 there has a very, very fast car. Did not have a great qualifying run, but he's pretty pleased with the car. He's making headway toward the front also.
Just behind in that light blue car, Jason Trouble. Oh, boy, big crash.
Around goes Derek Gilchrist to the number 15, the 82, Glenn Allen Jr., as they tangle, running in 29th and 30th spot, respectively, and caution is again on the Speedway. Now we're picking up kind of where we left off here last year. Remember all the cautions we had in the final 20 laps a season ago of this event? And now here we are at lap number 28 already with 3 cautions. Let's see if we can determine exactly who did what to whom.
Oh, 3 wide.
Uh-huh.
That just hardly ever works on a flat track. Three wide going in there.
The lucky guy there was Anthony Lazzaro in the 97, the 44, Justin Labonte, all those guys going by.
Bobby Hillen says, I've had enough wreck today. He goes down on the flat and goes by.
Bobby's already down some 8 laps by virtue of that first caution flag of the day. So under the yellow for the 3rd time, lap number 28, Tim Fedewa continues to show the way here in New Hampshire. Going back to green here at New Hampshire International Speedway, Tim Fedewa shows the way. A lot of guys making pit stops. That's Steve Park back in. Meanwhile, in the garage area, Larry McReynolds is caught up with Jeff Purvis.
Eli, I'm here with Jeff Purvis, just come out of the infield care center. Just can't seem to get a break, but first and foremost, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's pretty hard hit, but I'm fine. You know, I just hate it for everybody at Porter Cable. It's a lot better race team than what we're showing right now. And you know, the last few weeks I've been in the infield care center, and that's not much fun.
What exactly do you think happened there? It looks like he just almost went straight into the wall.
It must have blown a right front. I felt the steering wheel go limp about right as I started to turn in the corner, and I knew I had a problem, just didn't know exactly what it was. It either did that or broke a spindle or something, but I'm going to believe it blew a right front. Don't know why.
Well, guys, that's the story on Jeff Purvis, and they're just going to try to get it loaded up and way to go to Lowe's Motor Speedway in 2 weeks.
All right, guys, thank you. As Tim Fedewa gets set to lead the field back to the green. This is, again, what they were talking about before.
You're riding with Jason Leffler down in the corner. Sometimes you just go right through the middle and get lucky.
There you see a good look at Hank Parker Jr., the Marines.com machine. He's picked up 11 spots already. Started 33rd, now running in 22nd. Who else has moved up? Ted Christopher started 30th. He's now in 21st. What is this, one of about 9 races he's running this weekend, Dick?
It seems that way. Last night he was at Stafford Speedway, finished second in a modified. He was on the phone when I saw him this morning trying to arrange a plane. He wants to go to London tonight to race.
Well, it's all about for a guy like Ted Christopher. He's a good one, too. 33 laps of 200 in the books.
Ron Hornaday in the 3 there gets caught on the high side, and you can see the car just going by.
Hornaday's been running an aggressive race all day. He's been trying whatever he can to pass cars, high side look. Oh, dear. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. They got it sorted out.
Hank Parker Jr. in the 53 dives in there. You know, he was up here with his father doing a fishing show for TNN this week. He said his father caught 35 of the 45 that were caught. He said mine were bigger, though.
And you should have seen the ones that got away. Aren't you supposed to say that after every fish story?
Absolutely.
We're at lap 34. If you're just joining us, 20 of the first 33 laps today.
Close.
We're run under caution.
That's a little more than close. He's giving him a little nudge there to let him know I'm in a hurry here. Hank Parker Jr., great drive this year. Had some good finishes. Had been qualifying quite well also in the 53 car.
Mike Borkowski. He's in that number 20 there, the AT&T colors.
And Hornaday was very smart to back off and just let him go.
He's still learning, Borkowski is, coming in from the American Speed Association. Oh! Hornaday said they got to back off some more.
Yeah.
Hank Parker went by, and here comes the number 7 of Ted Christopher.
Ted Christopher, we were just talking about him. Very good on this racetrack. Runs modified, Busch North, you name it. He's been here quite a few times, doing the best job he can with that car right now.
That's a Michael Waltrip-owned race car. This is a one-off event. He's got this drive just for today. But if things work out, Jay and Lou Lastori may well pick up the sponsorship, and that could become a full-year ride for him next year. If so, let me tell you what. This kid, Christopher, in the 7th, is the best driver in America not running in the big league.
I have to agree with you on that. Just behind them is a big story. Andy Santerre in the 25 car. He also knows this racetrack very well as he starts to make a move on Hornaday.
Andy Santerre has 20 starts here. 3 poles, a handful of top 5s. Of course, had that fine win in the Busch North Series race here last summer.
That was a big win for Andy Santerre, coming back from a broken leg at Daytona. Got into the Busch North car here and won it. A lot of people wondered if he still had the courage to go fast. He does.
We were figuring it out yesterday. He says he has competed, and the book verifies, he has competed in 2,498 laps of actual competition at this track in all the different divisions. Then you add in the practice and the testing. I mean, you're well over 3,000 laps here, which has got to be one of the top numbers for anybody in this race today. There's Steve Park. Remember, he made a series of stops. He's now running the 31 car in 31st spot. Larry Mack, what about all those extra pit stops? Lap 29, 30, 31, and so on.
Well, Eli, I talked to his crew and asked him, you know, why did you pit that early in the race? We talked earlier, Glenn elaborated to it, track position, and that's the reason they pitted. The car was a little bit tight. They wanted to make some adjustments. but their hope is strategy, and a lot of times that's what works here at Loudon. If they pitted on lap 32 and they run 15 or 20 laps and the caution comes out, that means most of the field's probably going to pit. He's going to be up leading the racer right near the front. Now, the downside, if they run 40 or 50 laps, he's going to have to pit with everybody else. So just a little bit different strategy on their part, but like I said earlier, they're here to win the race, and that's all they're here for.
Steve Park, only guy to have run here in every type of vehicle that this track has ever hosted. Winston Cup, Busch Series, Busch North, Modified, the Craftsman Truck Series. He has run in all of them here at New Hampshire International Speedway. Just joining us, that's Tim Fedewa in the 36. He's the race leader. Randy LaJoy right behind, both on the racetrack and on the stopwatch. And Buckshot Jones, Kevin Harvick, who is running in third. That is he in the number 2 machine. And Todd Bodine, 5th quickest on the speed clocks, though running back at 12th on the leaderboard. There's veteran Dick Trickle in that bright orange Schneider Trucking entry, the number 5 car.
P.J. Jones in the 19 car just in front of him there.
We were talking about the suspension and what it has to deal with on a flat racetrack like New Hampshire. There's the view from beneath Dick Trickle's car.
Eli, you can see the spring right there, and also the shock movement. As they go in the corner, you can see the hard on the brakes for quite a good ways there. You run this track very similar to a big Martinsville, where you use a lot of brake entering the corner, but as you start to make the turn, you don't want to be on the brake because it'll make the front end push out on the car.
It's a good way to drive in the highway as well. Brake before you're in the turn, not while you're through the turn, if you can. The car will be a lot smoother if you can drive it that way. It's interesting, you go through the garage, you talk about how much brake people use. Trickle obviously is using a good bit. You can see that rotor glowing cherry red. And you talk to LaJoy, and he says, I use as little brake as I can. And yesterday he predicted that the guy who would win the race would be the guy who used the least amount of brake. He said if you don't really get on the brake with both feet, it helps get the car to the apex of the corner, the center of the corner. You might be able to turn it a little bit better. We'll see how all that works out. You do need brake. I don't care who you are, and you need a good bit of it here.
Larry, how much can you do as a crew chief to compensate if you have a driver who's bad on the brake pedal or a guy who's not?
Well, you know, I was just sitting here watching what was going on there and listening to you guys talk about the brake. And, you know, I've certainly worked with some drivers that will definitely use too much brake. And the thing about Loudon, New Hampshire, is I think as a crew chief, we sometimes take brakes for granted. You know, Martinsville's supposed to be the big place that people talk about brakes, but you have a really low gear to slow you down when the driver backs off the throttle. Here at Loudon, you pull a really high gear and you carry so much speed. Sometimes teams do run out of brakes here, but some things you can do, obviously as much as you can as far as cooling them with brake ducts and things, but sometimes you can put stiffer springs on the brake pedal, and that way the drivers say, hey, my foot's getting tired. I'm not going to use as much brake as I should.
You don't think we did it? You know, this is the first race on a track like this that they've been allowed to have 3 brake hoses on each corner of the front end of the car. Usually on the road course they're allowed to do that, but they said we need brakes, so we're going to allow you to put that extra hose on there to keep brakes on the car.
And how were you on the brake pedal in your Hall of Fame driving days?
Well, I was one of those guys, they put a lot of spring on the bucket.
The fact that your nickname was Ray Bestis didn't mean anything, huh?
Not a bit.
47 laps in here at New Hampshire International Speedway. By 0.3 of a second, that's your leader, Tim Fedewa. Back in a moment.
International Speedway, Tim Fedewa has moved out to a little bit of a lead there over Randy LaJoy. It's still Fedewa, LaJoy, Kevin Harvick, and Buckshot Jones. I told you a little earlier that Buckshot had a loose problem. He has changed his line around the racetrack and started just rolling into the corners a little better. And man, has he really picked up the speed, guys. He has caught the lead pack now and putting a lot of pressure on Kevin Harvick running third. So they've been coaching Buckshot a lot, telling him if he gets out of his rhythm, if he starts getting in the corners a little too hard again, they start trying to calm him down a little bit, tell him to get back in that rhythm. And I tell you, it's really working right now. Also, the fuel load is probably burning off of that car just a little bit. So that would help to tighten it up just a little. So Buckshot Jones could be a factor in this thing before the day's over.
Third straight race in a Chevrolet for Buckshot Jones' team as they made the switch a few weeks ago. This is the same car he drove last Friday night in Richmond. He was up to second place and he had those transmission problems and so on, and dropped way back to 26th, but that's a good car.
They told me yesterday in the garage that transmission problem was his own fault. He just plain missed a shift. Imagine that, a driver that admits something goes wrong, and he did it. That's a good car. It's a good race driver. No one has ever won here at New Hampshire from further back. Buckshot won from 26th when he won here, was involved in an earlier crash, started all the way in the back of the pack, and still won the thing.
And that was his last race win some 51 events ago, back on May 9th of 1998. Randy LaJoie in second. Let's see what kind of numbers he's turning now. We check that telemetry.
Down the straightaway, 69, 7,000.
75, 78.
Yep, 7,900. Around at 8,000 down the straightaway. Check his miles per hour now. We know what he's turning down the straightaways because they're basically the same type of straightaway. Whatever he turned down the front, he should turn down the back. A little over 150 miles an hour down the front straightaway.
Both straights are 1,500 feet long. Straightaways are 3 degrees of banking, and the corners are 12 degrees, but that is basically flat where we come from. Larry Mack, LaJoie's pacing himself, hanging with Fedor.
Well, I've talked to Johnny Allen with Randy LaJoie, and, you know, he's beginning to lose about a tenth a lap right now. And Johnny told me about 10 or 15 laps ago, Randy was complaining about the car pushing. The front end's not want to turn from the center off the corner. So what they're going to do here when they do pit, whether it be under caution, under green, they're going to raise the track bar on the right rear. That will raise the row center and will definitely help the car turn just a little bit better off the corner. Glenn Jarrett, how about Jeff Green? Everybody told me he was going to be the man to beat today.
And he may well be, Larry. He has moved from 12th position where he started up to 6th right now. On that last lap, he was the fastest car on the racetrack, about 1,500ths of a second faster than leader Tim Fedor. So Green has got it dialed in now. They too have been coaching him, telling him just to save his car and take his time getting to the front. He's coming right now. I tell you what, it won't be long before they can look in the mirror and see that blue number 10. It's blue this week for Nestea as opposed to the normal yellow color for Nesquik. But whatever color he is hauling the mail right now.
And color him as the point leader, still 73 points up on Todd Bodine. Yep, we're in New Hampshire. We're as per usual. There's a whole lot of bumping going on.
Announcer around in that, it looked to me as if they did.
I thought it was wrestling. I saw a bunch of sticks and stuff flying around in there.
Well, I'm sticking to stock car racing.
There you go.
Get involved in that.
Tim Fedor continues as the race leader. There he is by 0.6 of a second on Kevin Harvick now, because Harvick has gotten by Randy LaJoie, who's fallen there to 3rd, and has to deal with the 4th place runner Buckshot Jones closing in on his rear flank. Then you've got Casey Atwood, number 27. He's there as well, and so too is Jeff Green. So things beginning to tighten up right now near the front. Now LaJoie has dropped back. We were talking about it before, Larry. What's the problem now?
Well, as we kind of suspected, the car is getting tighter and tighter and tighter. We're lap 65 now. So now they're making decisions on what other adjustments. They don't feel like the track bar alone is going to do it. What they're going to do, they're going to drop a pound of air out of both front tires. Now, we talked about it earlier. We use a lot of brakes here at Loudon, and a lot of brake heat, it increases the air pressure buildup. So what they're going to do, they're going to drop the front air pressure a little bit, because the more pressure those front tires build up, the more the spring rate grows, and that just makes the car push even worse.
There you see the numbers on the last time by. As LaJoie is now in 30. No, starting to creep up now is Todd Bodine. We have not talked that much about the number 66 machine, but all of a sudden, while these guys here have been battling for position, Todd has very, very quickly closed in to within shouting distance. Watch as we pan back, and you'll go through the top 10 and find Todd Bodine and the number 66 machine. So he finds himself very much in the hunt right now as we ride with him through turns 3 and 4.
Todd's having a really good year this year, top 10 in points, or I'm sorry, 10th, finishing the top 10. We'll get it out eventually, really will. Virtually every start finishing in the top 10 this year. That's put him 2nd in points, but been a long time since he's won. 58 races since Todd Bodine has won. We talked about that yesterday, and he said, I don't understand how I can finish so well week after week and still not win one of these things.
Well, you know, I was talking to him about the same thing. They're consistent, but his best finish all year long is third in Bristol. So that's just not Todd Bodine. He's wanting to win, and consistency is a great thing, but you still want to win races.
He was psyched up because he's got that car that he calls Twister that has always run pretty well on these kind of racetracks. Had a 4th place finish at Memphis last year, did well at Indianapolis, where he finished 2nd. He ran a strong top 10 at Phoenix last year with Twister on that flat track there. So he was kind of excited about the prospects today.
Well, he's right on the back right now. Just looking at the 27 now, Casey Atwood. He's also a specialist on these short, flat tracks. Milwaukee, very dominant there in his win there. So he and Jeff Green right now are kind of making headways towards the front.
He has finished 21st and 5th, Atwood has, in his 2 visits here, although we need to point out that even when he finished 21st, he was on the lead lap.
That's a great car Jeff Green has. It's the same car he ran here last year to win the pole. Led 152 laps. Didn't win the race. Finished 2nd in this very same car. He said this morning that they may try to do this whole race with 1 pit stop. It is possible. They physically can do it in terms of fuel. Question is whether it's smart to do it in terms of tire strategy.
Those 2 fellas right there, Atwood and Green, 2 4/10 seconds behind the race leader, Tim Fedewa. You're just joining us. Kevin Harvick led the first 15 laps. Tim Fedewa took over at lap number 16. He's not been touched since. The 98 there, right of your screen, that is Elton Sawyer, last year's winner, running in the 9th spot. And he has Todd Bodine sizing him up from the onboard camera right behind. Let's get an update. We've not talked much about Elton Sawyer today. Let's go to pit road.
Eli, Buddy Dick, talked to Elton Sawyer, who's running in 9th right now. He started 7th, and as you said, he is this race defending champion. I noticed in the practice sheet from the last practice yesterday, only 42 cars had practice. That means 1 was missing. And it come out to be Elton Sawyer in the Lysol car. And I went and talked to Elton this morning. I said, Elton, how come you didn't run happy hour? And he's looked at me and said, Larry, my heart just wasn't in it. I didn't want to be here. We made a few adjustments this morning based on last year's race. I just wanted to get out of here and go to the motel yesterday.
Understandable. Elton Sawyer finished 34th last Friday night in Richmond, but he really had a very quick car. If you caught any of that race, he started in 7th and got caught up in that big accident just past halfway, the one with Tony Raines and Kevin Grubb and Jay Sauter and Anthony Lazzaro, and it dropped him to 34th. But he'll be a factor today, but right now everybody chasing Tim Fedewa. There you see some good scrambling in traffic on the left of your screen. Number 2, Kevin Harvick. He is in 2nd place. Then you've got cars that have been lapped. Jason Jarrett in the 11, 44, Justin Levante. Then there's Randy LaJoy in the 1, the 00 of Buckshot Jones. That blue number 10 of Jeff Green, and the green and white 27 of Casey Atwood. Interesting view here from Elton Sawyer in 9th, back to 10th place, Todd Bodine.
Todd Bodine's car is not sticking to the bottom of the racetrack like he wants it to, so he uses the apron to help himself turn, and then he goes up in the center part of the corner. That's push. Now watch him. Well, as I say that, what's he do? He stays right out there.
Let's see if he does it at the other end of the race. How does the apron, the flat apron of a flat racetrack, help you turn?
Well, it kind of kicks the car around. You can see right there, he's very good getting in on the apron part. That give him a good run. Now he'll turn back down because the car is not sticking.
Plus, he had to deal with the 15 of Derek Gilchrist, who had that inside groove.
People take my word for it. We watched him 4 or 5 times while we were away at break.
There he goes.
There, thank you very much. He's using that right now instead of making a chassis adjustment, which he can't do until he makes a pit stop, to make that car turn in and get good drive off the corner.
Don't you hate when that happens? It's like when the tooth is hurting until you sit down in the dentist's chair.
Yeah, but he had to go back to it. The way that car was pushing out in the center part of the corner, I knew he had to go back to that style.
Look at that. LaJoy and Buckshot have won here, but the other guys in the hunt today never have won here at New Hampshire. We're talking way back when. Guys like Tommy Ellis won a race here, Rick Mast, Kenny Wallace, Ricky Craven, Jeff Burton won a Busch Series race here, Joe Nemechek, Robert Presley, Derek Cope won here, Chad Little, LaJoy, McLaughlin, Buckshot Jones, Elton Sawyer. We have not had, it's like that second race at Talladega for so many years when the Winston Cup teams went back and we had that great stretch without a repeat winner. Well, you know what I'm curious about, though, guys, is Ricky Craven. Ricky right now running in there. He is in the 23 car. He's in 7th spot, closing in on Casey Atwood. You just kind of think as many laps as he has here, he's just waiting. He knows something we don't.
Boy, and I've been watching him just like you have, Eli. And he was kind of just sitting there waiting, and now he's moving in on Casey Atwood in the 27 there. He knows how to get around this racetrack. And as they run into traffic, he's going to make himself known before this race is over, I think.
Has 3 career wins here, and the only guy to win a Busch Series race from the pole was Ricky Craven.
He is indeed, and he has got a very good race car there. He has said so all weekend, and he has shown it on the Speedway. He owns that car in concert with his wife. The engine that's under the hood is built by a company he owns in part, but the real story here is that it has been a long time since Ricky Craven has been a contender to win a race. Several grinding crashes in Winston Cup really beat him up. He had to drop out, lost his ride for Hendrick Motorsports. Is Ricky Craven going to come back today and finally win after all of that? A lot of people have written this kid off and said the crashes got to him. He's not good anymore. It's pretty darn good right now.
Ricky Craven chasing down that man, Tim Fedua. The crew cheering him on. He's up by 9/10 of a second on Kevin Harvick. Welcome back, everybody, to New Hampshire. Randy LaJoy being tended to, his car in the wall as he and Buckshot Jones tangled going up into turn number 3. And we'll take a look at what happened. First time we're seeing the replays ourselves.
Buckshot on the inside, Randy on the outside. They make contact right there, and around goes Randy LaJoy. Unfortunately, the driver's side hits very hard getting into that corner.
And if you follow NASCAR Busch Series racing, these guys have tangled in the past. And they tangle again. Man. Pit stops have taken place. Lap 88 for the leaders and lap 89 for those who are at least 1 lap down. Let's go to Larry McReynolds.
We lie. Casey Atwood, who was running 6th, those guys had one well of a stop. He come out 2nd. Casey been complaining the car was a little bit tighter pushing, just some slight air pressure adjustments, a little bit of air pressure out of the right front, left rear. And the thing about it, the stop those guys had, he might have had the lead after this caution when he went back on the racetrack, but he didn't have it in gear when they dropped the jack, so he comes out 2nd. Now, Jeff Green, who was running 5th, who, again, appeared that he had one of the fastest cars, similar situation, a little bit tight, a little bit of air pressure out of the right front, both fronts actually in the left rear, and he comes out back on the racetrack in 6th. Glenn, how about your guys at the end of your pit road?
Well, down here, Larry, the leader, Tim Fedua, came in. They had a great pit stop, changed 4 tires. Tim asked them to make no adjustment on the car, but after they took the tires off, we're getting word now. We don't know exactly which tire, but we're getting word of a tire that had some air pressure buildup in it. We'll follow up on that. Kevin Harvick in the number 2 came in. He also had a good pit stop. He got back out on the racetrack, I believe, in 3rd. Buckshot Jones also did 4 tires, and they made an air pressure adjustment on both the front tires. So, and I believe Buckshot got out in 4th position. So the only one that beat him out was the 2-tire stop of the 27 car, Casey Atwood. So good stops down here. We're going to follow up on that deal on Tim Fedua's tires to see if that's going to be a continuing problem. The other thing I'm looking at, guys, is they pitted a little before lap 90. Now the question is whether anybody might try to stretch it and go all the way should this thing happen to go green the rest of the way. But wait a minute. This is New Hampshire. That ain't a chance.
Now watch this. Talk about action on the track. Watch what happens leaving pit road.
Ricky Craven didn't see the 2 car there of Kevin Harvick as he was coming out of the... They made pretty significant contact coming out there, but the good part is neither car is damaged. I don't think they'll have to work on either car to continue on.
At least we can't see any damage. If anybody's going to be hurt on that one, it'd be Craven. He kind of whacked the right front a little bit.
This caution, the 4th of the afternoon after Randy LaJoy and Buckshot Jones tangled going into turn number 3, and you see the work continuing around Randy LaJoy's car.
He is out of the car. They did put Randy LaJoie on a stretcher. They're taking him to the infield care center. He is now out of the race car.
Working the fourth caution of the afternoon. We continue on TNN Sports after this. We are live here at New Hampshire International Speedway. Eli Gold, Buddy Baker, Dr. Dick Berggren, Larry McReynolds, Glenn Jarrett, the whole crew. Glad you are with us on this Mother's Day weekend of the year 2000. Tim Fedewa. Pit stops, had the lead, still has the lead, Glenn.
Yeah, Eli, and I said I would follow up on that tire situation. The tire, the air pressure wasn't building up. What we heard them, or that's what we thought we heard them say. What they actually said was that the left front tire was graining up. We thought it was gaining air pressure, but it was graining up a little bit. All the other tires look okay. They don't think that's a problem. You get that sometimes on a very flat track here because the left front tire doesn't adhere to the racetrack quite as much as the other tires do, so that's not something that they're concerned about. Just as a side note, we were talking about the 00 and the 10 altercation down there, or the 1, excuse me, of Randy LaJoie. Jeff Green was right behind him, and he just came across the radio and said to his guys that he thought it was probably as much one's fault as the other, that getting into the turn, that Buckshot had a fender up under Randy, and that they came together there. So he didn't say that it was one's fault or the other. He said it could be blamed either way.
Just it's unusual, though. I guess it's one of those weird things in racing, how guys who have had problems in the past, kind of like magnets, seem to. Did that happen to you, buddy, when you might have had a tussle with a guy, and then 2 weeks later, just by accident, it happened again, and then 2 weeks later, there it is again?
Yeah, it's kind of like having to pit beside of them all week long after you've had that trouble, you know, and you're like a magnet. But these guys race very similar, and they're very aggressive, both of them. And when you race like that, naturally, that's the guy you're gonna have problems with.
And they really don't like each other either, and that contributes to it as well.
Now, we did see Randy LaJoie during a commercial break go to the infield care center. He gave a couple of folks the thumbs up in the aftermath of this scary-looking accident, putting us under caution for the fourth time. Back for the restart here at New Hampshire. Just a couple, 3 laps away from the halfway point of the Busch 200. Here we go. Tim Fedewa, Casey Atwood, Buckshot Jones, Kevin Harvick, Ricky Craven now in 5th.
Just before that restart, Fedewa heard on the radio from his crew, remember, there is rain in the area. They don't want him to take it easy at all. He's got a real good shot to win it, and led it from the beginning.
This has just been a tough year for Fedewa. The best he's had in the races thus far was an 11th place finish at Darlington. There have been 4 events he's not finished. Didn't even qualify at California. That's why I say 10 races for him versus the 11 for everybody else. There's a good scramble here, that second place battle. Atwood, Jones, and Harvick.
Kevin Harvick there in the 2 car, very, very quick at this moment. I watched him. He really had to get on the brakes hard not to get in the back of Buckshot at the end of the straightaway just a second ago.
Well, Tim Fedewa is leading at halfway, but statistically, that may not be the place to be, but I bet you he'll take it for now.
Let me tell you, anytime you're out there with nobody in front of you, that's a place to be.
Trouble in turn 1. There's Lyndon Amick in the 35 machine, who has problems in the corner and brings out the yellow for the 5th time today. Lyndon was running in 26th position. So Lyndon Amick.
And Jason Jarrett got by the leader and made up a lap just now.
Fedewa let him by under that circumstance. Just let him go, let him have his lap back.
See Lyndon coming out of the car, left side, a lot of damage. Does not appear to be the happiest guy out there right now.
I have a feeling someone's going to get a gesture as they drive by Mr. Amick.
Now, let's see. Yeah. Let's see who gets the official gesture. Looks like Mike Borkowski,
yeah,
who is getting the, what were you thinking about?
Oh,
Well, that was good. He threw his helmet at his own car, not Borkowski's car, so that's good.
There's Mike Borkowski, and a good look at Lyndon Amick, former winner at Daytona in the NASCAR Goodies Dash Series. Nice guy.
Borkowski has won twice here in New Hampshire, but not in stock cars. He's done it in sports cars on the road course. From nearby Connecticut.
I'd say you look at the grill on that car, and that's probably a little bit of what Lyndon Amick wasn't so happy about.
Take a look again at what went on up there in the corner, the tail end of the incident, as Lyndon Amick is already in the wall. From his reading, compliments of Mike Borkowski, though I dare say we will have another thought from Borkowski as our afternoon continues. But we are past halfway. Tim Fedua, the race leader. Rain is in the area. We're coming right back. For a quick reminder about wrenchhead.com. They have millions of brand name auto parts and accessories to choose from, and it is so easy to prove that you're a wrench head. Are you a wrench head? Just log on, wrenchhead.com. Parts online all the time. And what Buddy really likes, they've got that free delivery.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Field about to get the 1-to-go signal. Let's go to the infield care center, Larry McReynolds.
Well, Eli, I'm standing here where they brought Randy LaJoie just a few laps ago after the wreck over there with Buckshot Jones, and he was knocked unconscious just for a brief moment. He's fine. I talked to his dad. I talked to his PR girl. They said he's fine, but because he was unconscious for a brief period when they got to the car, they are going to transport him just for observation, just to make sure everything's okay, but he's got to get back out here. He owns one of the Busch North cars they're going to run later on this afternoon with Ted Christopher, so he'll be back out here just after they check him out a little more thorough.
All right, Larry Mack, thanks a lot. We'll update you further on Randy LaJoie. Quickly to Glenn Jarrett as we're a lap from the restart.
Okay, thanks, Eli. We've been listening to Casey Atwood's conversations with his crew. He's not at all happy with the car. It will not turn going in the corners. You remember, they only changed 2 tires there. They keep telling him just to work with it, keep scuffing those right side tires in. The air pressure will build up, it'll equalize, and he should be okay. Hey, can we get a shot of that crane right outside turns 1 and 2 there?
Yeah,
okay.
Nice crane.
Yeah, well, they're building new grandstands out there. But that crane is there this weekend specifically to lift me and Buddy Baker out of here after we've had lunch in the infield cafeteria.
I don't think it'll work.
They are putting up some brand new seats. There's Hank Parker as he gets set to go back to green. He's in 15th spot, started 33rd. So he's really cut his way through the field. But as you see, his only other visit here, he was a 29th place finisher a year ago. But Hank's really maturing. He really is. There were a couple of years there where, you know, things weren't going all that well. He's really coming to his own as a race car driver. 107 of 200 as we're back to work here at New Hampshire.
Casey Atwood caught on the outside there. That's not going to help that situation. As you can see right there, 3 wide as they come off turn 2.
And Buckshot got him for second spot.
When you don't change left sides and everybody else takes on 4, that's like having one good half of a shoe. You know what I'm saying? It just don't work most of the time on these racetracks where you need that fresh rubber to really get around the racetrack.
Jason Leffler in that number 18 car, going to run the Indianapolis 500 for Treadway Motorsports. A terrific ride, a car good enough to win the race, but he has put his Busch Series career ahead of that. He's going to miss 2 of the practice sessions at Indy just to be sure he runs every Busch race, and boy, is it getting dicey out there now.
That's Ricky Craven in the 23. The 2 is Kevin Harvick. This is for 4th place.
Yeah, they're exchanging a little bit of...
oh, hang on.
More than a little bit.
What a job Harvick did to not crash that car. That thing was gone, and he somehow saved it.
Jeff Green and all these guys right now are taking advantage. Harvick is not back up to speed right now, losing position after position.
Tons of guys going by. Tony Raines in the 33 just got by. Anthony Lazzaro going way wide there in the McDonald's number 97.
Well, he'll just have to wait till he gets on the back straightaway because there's so much debris on the top side of the racetrack, he dare not touch the throttle.
Yeah, get the tires cleaned off. Look at him shaking the tires clean because he was way out of the groove, Lazzaro was.
This is going to be good here. Jeff Green, he's in that blue number 10, 5th on the racetrack. The leader in points, you've got Craven just ahead. Mike McLaughlin closing in from the rear flank there. Watch this again. Live actions in the upper left, but watch the replay there of Harvick and Craven.
Now that looked pretty bad right there on Ricky Craven's behalf, but I noticed the front end of that car, it broke loose. He had the wheels turned to the left, and it actually pushed the nose over into there, and he got into Harvick. He did not mean to do that.
Ricky Craven driving as hard as he possibly can, desperately wants a win. Said this morning he thought today was his day. He's definitely got a car that's capable.
Get down to 95 miles an hour in the corners. Up to 147 on the straightaways for Jeff Green.
Jeff Green right on the bottom of the racetrack, so is just in front of him, Rick Craven in the 23. And just behind him, a guy that's very, very content, the 48 car there, Mike McLaughlin.
Dealing with
Jason Leffler.
Yep, giving the bottom away, letting them go ahead now, do their race. Talking about his IndyCar deal. Sponsor is Roger Penske's United Auto.
Left rear is gone now for Harvick.
Oh, he had a shot to win this thing.
He is all the way back down to 23rd place.
The bad part, he's over on turn 2, and that rubber flying off there is knocking the inner panels out from under the car, really hurting the car quite a bit as he's trying to make it all the way around the racetrack and back into the pit area.
Makes you wonder about that bump with Ricky Craven.
Well, that definitely caused it.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. It just took a while for it to happen.
You can see...
And you see it was basically the left rear of Harvick is where they made contact.
Exactly.
So I'm sure the air began to leak out at that point. Took a couple of laps for it to go flat on him. So Kevin Harvick going to drop at least 4, maybe 5 laps in this entire exchange.
And then getting the jack under there with a flat tire. They'll have to lift up to get it. Now you see them coming off with the tires.
Glenn's down there.
That's the second.
Just got here, and wow, like you said, what a tough break for Kevin. They only changed left side. In fact, they went ahead and changed both left side tires, and the crew guy was so mad he threw the tire up in here, and it bounced into me, then into my spotter, and I don't really blame them. They're upset. They had a car capable of winning the race. I'm going to try to get a look at that. Well, there's not anything to look at that tire was left. It is chewed all up. But I have to agree with you. It either came from the bump from Craven, or maybe when he got up in the loose stuff, he may have run over something and cut it. But tough break for Kevin Harvick.
Really is. So Kevin Harvick will come back up to speed. He'll be 4 laps down in 31st position now. Meanwhile, some other folks we have not talked about. Look at the Visine car now starting to make its way up. Jason Schuler, who ran at Nashville, if you're with us here on TNN back on the 8th of April, started 37th. Remember that day? He made it to the top 5, then got caught up in that big accident near the end of the race. And here he is again, starting in the middle of the pack, and he's running up in 8th place right now.
I was talking to the risers yesterday, and I said, is Jason that good? And he said if he wasn't, he wouldn't be in the car. So they have a lot of faith in what he can do on the racetrack.
There's another youngster, too. Bobby Hamilton Jr. started 23rd. He's now running at 11th. There's Todd Bodine. He's no oldster by any stretch. He's running in 9th. Starting to see a few new names now. 57, Jason Keller right there on the screen. Then the 26, that orange and red machine of Bobby Hamilton Jr.
Talking about Jason Keller in the 57, he hit the wall pretty hard not long ago. Caved the right side in. I'm sure he was glad to get a chance to change tires just a second ago and maybe pull the tires away from, or fenders away from the tires. But he's up to full song now, and the car looks pretty good.
And you know that Schuler there in the Visine number 17. The other wild card in all of that, Nick, is Gary Cogswell, his crew chief, who has got a couple of wins here with Chad Little and Mike McLaughlin. So that doesn't hurt either.
No, but Schuler has had virtually no practice at all here. In fact, before the races started this weekend, the only time he'd ever been around this racetrack was as a passenger in a rental car with Jeff Green driving. Hadn't even seen this place before this weekend. Boy, what a tough act he's got to follow. Matt Kenseth has run 10 races in that car, 2 wins, 7 top 5s.
And of course, Kenseth is currently in the point standings in 3rd, but he'll drop by virtue of not being here today. There's Kevin Harvick. We just want to follow up on him. Look at that tire down there on the pit lane after the bump and go with Ricky Craven a while back.
And since it's not all the way around the racetrack, you know it's somewhere up in that car where it knocked the inner panels out and probably up in the quarter panels and everywhere else.
vertical win his, though. He's an incredible race car driver. His crew chief, Todd Barrier, said, oh, another crash.
Mike Dillon finds the wall. Turn number 2.
That looked like Hank Parker Jr. there in the 53.
With him too. They were running in 14th and 15th at the time, and they get together and find the wall. Mike Dillon and Hank Parker Jr. They had a good run going, both of those guys did, in 14th and 15th spot.
You can see Dillon trying to make the car move, and it's hung up on the racetrack itself. The back is all the way down, and the front is dragging the racetrack. It won't move from there.
So at lap number 120, caution is out for the 6th time today. We do have the tail end of the wreck, I am told. There the two of them go up into the wall, and it will take Larry or Glenn talking with them to find out exactly who did what to whom.
Dillon in that 21 has had a really tough year with crashes. A huge fire and crash in Texas earlier in the year, crashed out of the Talladega race, and now this. He's not had a good time as far as meeting the record drivers in year 2000.
Larry, where are we now as far as cautions are concerned? Everybody pitted at lap number 88, and some of the fellows are saying they wanted to make this a one pit stop race. We're looking, figuring maybe a 3-lap caution or so here. We're looking at maybe 40 laps of yellow. What do you think? Oh, here they come. Some of the leaders are coming. What do you think?
Well, some of them pitted, but most of the guys right up near the front, they did stay out. I think it's cars that's kind of back in the pack that are actually pitting. They pitted with 112 laps to go, and that was right at the edge of what a lot of them told me they could run on fuel here. But the key is, since on lap 88, we've run more cautions than we have green, and you can conserve a lot more fuel under caution. You keep the butterflies of the carburetor closed, and you're not using as much fuel. So I'm going to say with 80 laps to go, 79 now, with these cautions, they no doubt can make it to the end. And again, Glenn said it, track position at Loudon, New Hampshire is everything. That's how Elton Sawyer won the race a year ago.
Indeed, that was the case, as you see the Mike Dillon machine being pushed onto the flatbed. The Stanley folks are here, not far from their plant in New Britain, Connecticut. Their guy's number 1. For many of the runners, though not for the leaders, let's go to Glenn Jarrett.
And I'm going to climb up on the ladder here and see if I can get a word with Billy Naswitz and see just exactly what their strategy is. Billy, the car looks to be as good as it was on the first set of tires, but what about fuel? Can you make it?
We keep getting some caution flags. We can make it. I do plan on stopping, though. Probably next caution.
Okay, you heard it right from Billy himself right there. They're not going to risk it. They know they've got a car. They really don't think that any of the rest of the guys can make it either on fuel. So therefore, if they feel like if they stop, that the rest of the guys will have to stop too.
That's going to be very, very interesting. That's what these strategies, that's what I like about this. Everybody's got their own idea, their own strategy. Hey, you fellas remember Ferrell Harris?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
He passed away this week. A lot of you folks who may be new to motor racing used to run NASCAR and ARCA. Mostly at Daytona and Talladega primarily. He won the ARCA race at Daytona back in 1983. Ferrell had some heart problems over the last few years and passed away last week of a heart attack.
Yeah, he worked with Buddy Parrott for a while, and also Harry Hyde. So Ferrell had a lot of driving ability, and that's sad news to hear.
A lot of NASCAR folks this week. Herman Hickman, remember Herman Hickman from the North Carolina Speedway? He passed away, and certainly our condolences there. But on a much brighter note, we had mentioned earlier in the show that Kevin Triplett and his wife Jill had a child, and so did John and Nancy Andretti. They are parents again. Amelia Lois Andretti was born on Wednesday evening, and our congratulations to John and Nancy Andretti and the whole crew.
It's a nice family.
Yes.
They really are. They travel to the races together. It's a nice family.
Jason Leffler, you're looking in at him right there. You want to talk about sitting down in a car? Now he's down in there.
Well, he's just a little bit of a guy to begin with. I don't think he's 5'5" tall. We're talking a minute ago about his IndyCar deal. The sponsor of his IndyCar is Roger Penske's United Auto Group. 110 new car dealers. Here's a sponsor.
Larry Mack, we've heard from Glenn Jarrett's end of pit road. How about from what you're hearing? Fuel, who can go, who can't? What do you think?
Well, it's right there on the edge, Eli. I talked to Casey Atwood's crew. He said if we could get about 3 or 4 more caution laps, I think we can make it. I said, if you get them, are you thinking about pitting? He said, absolutely not. Now, on the other hand, I talked to Harold Holley with Jeff Green. And they was in a big huddle. It took me a minute to get in there, and he said, Larry, what would you do? I said, hey, that's the reason I like my Saturday job. You just tell me what you're going to do, and I'll talk about it. But I think they are thinking if they can get some cautions. I said, Harold, the only thing I'm going to inject, track position. Every position you lose with lap traffic, it's like losing 2 positions. It's hard to get back to the front.
Riding with Jason Leffler on the restart. Lap 127 of 200.
Ricky Craven there in the 23, making a little contact there with the lap cars as he's trying to get by on the outside.
NASCAR timing and scoring brought to you by Napa, where NASCAR fans get their parts. You see exactly where everybody's running, including that battle between Craven and Green, 4th and 5th.
Whoa, oh, Jason Jarrett.
Oh, Jason Jarrett really shortens up the car in 21st spot. That did say Rayovac. Now it just says Ray. That's how badly he's shortened up the race car. He is, as you see, moving around, so he's just fine. But caution 7, lap 127. Now remember, Gary Cogswell said he was going to pit at the next caution.
And for Glenn down in the pits, when the net is down and Jason looks to be moving around in the cockpit.
But caution for the 7th time today. Take a look at it again, see what happens. Don't know if he had contact with Borkowski. He was to the outside of him. Man, that was a wicked hit.
Thank goodness for the fuel cell that they have now. It's a rubber bladder tank instead of the old metal tank that we used to have. That would have been a serious fire just a few years back.
Another upset driver. Closing in on pit stops again here in New Hampshire. Teams of the Rayovac Batteries Pontiac being taken back to the garage area. The onboard camera look shows us exactly what transpired. Mike Borkowski was there with Jason Jarrett as we look from P.J. Jones' car, and there Borkowski just shoves Jarrett out of the way. Same fellow who was involved at the other end of the racetrack with Lyndon Amick, and here we see Jason first throwing one item, and then
well, that's
later on.
That's one heel heat deflector, and now he's going to throw the other one at him.
A left-hander. And Borkowski, the receiving end there. There's Mike Borkowski, who continues on the racetrack, now running in the 8th spot. Downstairs, Glenn Jarrett, pit stop report.
Well, Tim Fedewa, as Billy Nasmus told us, he did come into the pits. He got 4 tires and fuel, so he's set to go. He lost a good bit of track position. But the 98 car of Elton Sawyer came in. He got fuel only. He beat the 36 out. Now the 00, we thought that he would come in with the leader, Tim Fedewa. He did not. I asked Sandy Little here, the crew chief, what if he can make it on fuel. Sandy held up that. He said he's got his fingers crossed. They hope that they can. They did not want to give up that track position that we've talked about. Larry?
Jeff Green, he come in and took 2 tires, and I definitely think if you was going to pit and get fuel enough to make it to the end, definitely all you needed to do was 2 tires. Now, he has went back to 13th position. Now, the situation that's created here with about 25 cars on the lead lap, with about 68 laps to go, the guys that stayed out, Buckshot, Casey Atwood, Mike McLaughlin, they have committed to running in this race on the tires and fuel they've got. They can't afford, with 25 cars on the lead lap, as I said, to pit later on in this race. It'll give up too much track position with too little race to go.
We're lap 132 of 200. Getting real interesting. They're flying in from out of town to see the finish of this. We're back in a moment. Welcome back to New Hampshire, back under green. And a quick reminder for you to check out NASCAR online before, during, and after the race at NASCAR.com, your 24-hour NASCAR Garage Pass. Eli Gold, Dick Berggren, Buddy Baker, Glenn Jarrett, Larry McReynolds, glad you're with us here in New Hampshire. Buckshot Jones is the race leader. You'll see exactly who's where on that Napa Field update, brought to you by Napa, where NASCAR fans get their parts.
And Buckshot's radio is telling him, waste no time, get by that number 2 car. Good job, they just said, as he did it. They are worried about the 27 and how fast he is.
Well, they better worry about that 48 car of McLaughlin there, too, because he is really on the move. And just behind him, Steve Park in the 31 car is picking them up and putting them down.
Hank Parker in the 53.
Good scramble for 10th and 11th. P.J. Jones with a fine run in that number 19 yellow freight car. Hank Parker was inside. Elton Sawyer in that 98 Lysol car right behind.
BJ needed a good run here. He's had 2 DNQs, 2 DNFs in that car. Crew chief killed in a car crash last week. What a horrible time they have had. But if they can overcome, this is a good team. A lot of solid people on this organization, and PJ is a terrific race car driver.
Talk about another proud racing family. Arnelli Jones, Paige Jones, P.J. Jones.
Boy, Tim Fedewa in the 36 right now is having a time trying to get up through traffic. He is getting boxed in almost every corner.
He's in 12th right now.
Man, a little bit loose as he got back in the throttle there coming off the corner.
Ricky Craven,
big time contact.
Wow. That'll take your heart away. Oof.
Just wait to see what's going to happen next.
On the radio, they're telling Buckshot, who's now leading the race, to conserve, roll into the throttle, roll out of the throttle. It's neat. You listen to it. Buckshot just quietly said, not a problem.
Remember, too, we've got a lot of fellows here who have never won a race in New Hampshire, who are in the top 5. He knows acquitting himself so very well. Here's Tony Raines. Saw him there in the 5th position on the leaderboard we showed you seconds ago. 51 races since Buckshot Jones last won. And it was here at New Hampshire National Speedway as Fedewa. Now in the 36, works his way.
Jeff Green in the 10 gets by Elton Sawyer also.
So they will move up spots to 10th and 11th. Just joining us, Kevin Harvick led the first 15 laps. Tim Fedewa then led 16 through 128. Buckshot Jones took over at 129, and we're now at lap 141. Jeff Purvis in the garage with an accident. Chad Chaffin had an oil line problem. Blaze Alexander done for the day. Accidents taking out Randy LaJoy, Lyndon Amick, and Jason Jarrett. Mike Dillon as well involved in an accident. So that is the attrition list. We have had 7 caution flags this afternoon. Thus far, a total of some 45 laps.
I didn't mean to make a noise just then, but going down in the corner, Fedewa got in the back left corner there of the 53, and I'll tell you what, it was a wreck and happening, just didn't happen.
So, not a surprise for Santerre and Steve Park. They know this racetrack, their home track. Larry Mack.
Oh, here we go.
Problems up there. Everybody saves it. That was Borkowski again.
And Justin Labonte also in the 44 made contact there.
Justin's still not up to full song. Borkowski now on the outside, 3 wide in the corner. Whoa. He'll remember this day.
I was about to toss it to you, Larry Mack, and talk about Steve Park, but we're going to watch these 3 wide battles, but Park may be one of the quickest cars on the track now.
Well, I talked to his crew chief, and boy, the joys and leisure of running a limited schedule. I went up to him, I said, okay, can you make it to the end? He kind of put his hand in his pocket, smiled, said, I don't know, maybe, but I can tell you one thing, we ain't going to pit.
Ricky Craven, you might have just seen there in the middle. Watch, there's some smoke coming out of the back of his machine.
I would think so. He made several, hard contacts with other cars. It may be just some fender rub, but definitely some smoke was showing.
That's he, number 23, Ricky Craven, running in 12th. And if you're watching closely there, you were able to see smoke as the body shifts and take a set. There you can see it just the least little bit of a haze. Now it's getting even more intense.
Yeah, I'm not sure
a heartbreaker.
I'm not exactly sure if that's tire rub. That looks like it's coming from the center part of the car. But we won't analyze it up here because we don't know.
4 wins in the NASCAR Busch Series. Ricky Craven.
Teddy Christopher getting sideways at the number 7.
Yeah, that looks like that's internal there. He's slowing down. Looks like he's headed for the pits.
Boy, Craven just can't get a break, can he? Running as well as he is running today, had a shot to win this thing, and
he
now
was pacing himself well.
Yeah, he was, and he was running a good, aggressive race, a very strong race, and now it's over.
Sure, he might be able to return, but
he's not going to win it.
He's
though.
out of contention for the win.
No chance to win.
Anthony Lazzaro right there, the number 97 machine.
That right side of that car is really beat in there. He's been in the wall somewhere around the racetrack here.
Running in 28th spot, couple of laps down. Lazzaro is.
That side looks wonderful. The other side's beat up.
Well, here's the crew you see going beneath the car. That's the NASCAR Busch Series official at the very back. Glenn, what are they saying?
Well, Eli, they haven't said anything yet. They're nodding their heads. There's a lot of smoke coming from the rear end. NASCAR I know what it is now. I can smell it. I've smelled that smell before. Rear end grease. That's what it is. It's burnt the rear end up in the car.
One of the worst acid-smelling kind of odors that you can pinpoint from anywhere in the racetrack.
You're leading the race with about 15, 20 miles to go, and you smell that. You want to talk about really getting nervous now. That'll make you have a heart attack.
Here comes Steve Park in that 31 car looking for McLaughlin's spot. McLaughlin running in 3rd position right now. This is the same car that Park ran so well with at Richmond last weekend. Finished 11th with it. Car owner Ted Barr said he threw the race away with bad pit strategy.
Well, he's making up for it right now in good driving because the car has some damage to the right front corner. You can see as he turns into turn 1 there. He's doing a great job of keeping the car in contention all day long, and now he may be a race contender to win here.
You know, Park still holds the race record here for modifieds. 115 miles an hour. That's a race record. That's not a qualifying record on this flat mile.
New Hampshire International Speedway opened in 1990. We're seeing one of the more intriguing Busch Series races here today. There haven't been as many lead changes as others have had. But now with only 49 laps to go, there are some awfully good storylines developing. Ricky Craven's car is being pushed to the garage area. So he joins the attrition list.
Between those two guys, you've got 11 wins here in the Hampshire Speedway. McLaughlin in the 48 has won 6 times. Only one guy, Mike Stefanik, has won more than that. Park with 5 wins, 4 in the modifieds, 1 in the Busch North cars.
McLaughlin's one of the, he is the guy who has won 2 races here on a single day back in the first year of this track in September of 90. He won the Busch North Series race and the Featherlight Modified Tour Series race.
Every time I see the 48 there, I think of one person, Reggie Ruggiero. Every time I remember when he used to run the modified that was painted very much similar to that. He would have made a great driver had somebody moved him down south. Tremendous competitor.
Reg is still running well. Won last week in the modifieds, in fact.
Hey, look at Michael Rich now all of a sudden moving up. He is in 5th place right now. That'll be a career best if he does not even improve or change. He had a 9th place run back in 94 when the series used to run at the Orange County Speedway in Rougemont, North Carolina. And that Larry Mack was his only top 10 finish to this point.
Well, I tell you, Eli, I talked to Skip Eiler as crew chief, and Skip, of course, has been with some Winston Cup teams, and a pretty up and down day. Michael was one of the ones that spun on that first lap, and he had to take 4 tires then. They again, when the caution come out on lap 98, 10 laps after a lot of other competitors took 4 tires, they got 4 more tires. Now, one thing we got to remember is NASCAR only allowed the teams 2 sets of tires a day under caution. So he actually has 4 fresher tires than most anybody in the field. We know he's good to go on fuel with 102 laps to go since he pitted, so he could be in as good a shape as anybody. And again, those guys that pitted a while ago, Jeff Green, those guys, they're marred back in 8th, 9th, 10th, right in there. Again, hard to get back to the front when you get back in the field.
Best finish of the year for Michael Rich in 6 events, 13th at Talladega. The leader is Buckshot Jones by 7/10 of a second over Casey
I'm in
Atwood.
the same boat.
And fire safety.
Fire is the biggest fear that I think we have. You know, hitting the wall hard, getting upside down, flipping the end over end, all those things are fears we live with every single day at the racetrack. But fire is something that you just can't run from.
Time was nearly every accident involving fire was a life-threatening situation in NASCAR racing. But today, significant advances in fire safety have been made.
And I think we just got to continue to look at fire extinguisher systems, making sure that the drivers have all the protection they can as far as gloves, socks, uniforms.
Fire safety is a constant concern for NASCAR and will continue to be as long as flammable fuel is used in race cars. For more, log on to country.com, your personal source for all things country. Back, everybody, the Busch 200 nearing its conclusion here at the New Hampshire International Speedway. Glad you're with us on TNN Sports. By the way, tomorrow, the NASCAR Busch North Series race. You'll be seeing that on TNN Sports tomorrow afternoon. It's actually going to be run here later today. We'll have taped coverage for you tomorrow.
New third place guy, Steve Park, got by just going down the back straightaway, got by McLaughlin to take over third place. Now, does he have time to catch the leaders?
39 laps to get the job done. And how about Jeff Green, Glenn? He's right now sitting in 7th.
Yeah, he made a pretty good move by Tim Fido a while ago, guys, to take 7th, and then on the very same lap past Tony Raines to go to, not to put him in 8th, when he passed Raines, that put him up to 7th. Jeff's lap times right now are quicker than anybody's on the racetrack. At least they were on the last lap. He was about a 10th of a second quicker than Buckshot Jones, the leader. So it's just going to take some time. He's like Tim Fido. He's mired back a long way. He was mired back in traffic. He's cleared a lot of the traffic. But man, he's got a lot of track to make up now. I just don't think there's enough time. If Buckshot can hold on, if his fuel lasts, he's going to be hard to beat.
Jeff Green is 10 1/10 seconds behind Buckshot Jones right now.
If we don't get a caution flag, that business of taking tires by the leaders will have proven to have been a mistake. Green was one of those, and this number 10 who did that. Fido led so many laps, virtually the whole front half of the race, until he took tires on that last stop.
And we're looking now for that blue car. That's the spread from Jones, 10 seconds back to Jeff Green.
You know, sometimes you're the bear and sometimes you're not. He won last week by making a good pit stop, and Mark Martin had to hold on and try to come back up through the field, and Jeff Green won the race in Richmond. So sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. But right lately, it don't seem that making a late stop at tires even works at all.
Yeah, the only thing that could change this around so dramatically would be, all it would take is a caution flag. Close this field right up again. The other thing that could happen is Buckshot's guys keep telling him every lap, roll in, roll out. They are worried about whether he has enough fuel to make it. He leads this race, but did not take a pit stop. May not have enough gas.
So all of these stories will unfold in the next 35 laps of racing as the leader goes around Glenn Allen Jr. You know what else he's got to deal with is Casey Atwood.
I was just thinking to say, we act like
now.
this kid's not close. He's only about 5 car lengths back right now. And what we're hearing, we kind of eavesdrop on these guys every once in a while. He said he's just running a very leisurely race, so he hadn't really turned it up yet either.
And Casey, after finishing 24th, 17th, and 22nd, had a good 8th place run last week in Richmond. And he was excited, said, I think we've gotten ourselves back in gear. So a lot to be decided here in the last 34 laps. Folks, tune in tomorrow at 11 o'clock Eastern Time for Race Day. All the latest news. Mike Hogwood is in for Rick Benjamin this week. He'll be hosting it for you tomorrow. He'll tell you what happened to Mike McLaughlin. We'll tell you also here in the next moment or so that Mike, who is running so very well, all of a sudden slowed on the racetrack. He had dropped some 14 seconds behind the leader and now brings it down to the attention of the crew. We'll go to pit road. And Glenn, what are they telling you?
Some kind of engine trouble, Eli. John Monson, the crew chief, just stepped across the wall. The engine is shut off. It's too bad. They just said he had a good top 5 run going. They've got the hood up right now. They're going to look under it, but they suspect valve trouble.
Tough break right there for Mike McLaughlin, who has 6 wins here, but as we mentioned earlier in the telecast, he and his wife heading up to their hometown, Waterloo, New York, tomorrow. Their son, Max, to be baptized on Mother's Day. Now at lap 171 of 200, there's the differential from first to second as we go to Larry McReynolds.
Well, Eli, if you believe in computers, I'm in Casey Atwood's pit, and we're here at his laptop in his pit box, and it's doing a lot of the work for these guys. This is a pit strategy program developed by Pi, and it's telling them you can finish on fuel and car at 4.98 miles per gallon average, and we'll have a half a gallon to 1 gallon left scavenged remaining. And this program, it's counting the laps down. It shows him what miles per gallon he's getting, 4.98, and it's showing how much fuel is in the car. So with about 38 laps to go, he has 6 gallons to go, so they feel safe they can make it.
I wonder if Buckshot Jones' calculations are showing him quite that much of a pad. That's very interesting. Amazing what can be calculated now and take my bad math out of the equation.
Eli, I'm telling you, I go on test programs every once in a while, and the things they can learn from computers and all, and the way the engineers work with computers anymore, it's down to a science anymore.
You've been out running with the Penske bunch again the last few days, huh?
I'm not allowed to talk about that.
Buddy was not out running with the Penske bunch the last few days. Yes, he was.
I will tell you, there's a young driver they're very interested in, and he has a great future in the sport, and they asked me to go and just kind of go along with the group, and he is going to be great.
So now you got 2 school teachers in the booth with Eli.
We are at lap 174. Mike Borkowski in the 20. That's that blue and black machine. Or I guess today we ought to say black and blue.
Oh, by the way, while we're just talking about that, I went to the new Kentucky Speedway. What a facility. It is wonderful. They didn't leave a thing undone. It's exactly like the Las Vegas Speedway. And I'm telling you, they didn't cut any corners. A great raceway.
Looking forward to seeing that racetrack in person. 25 laps to go. Buckshot Jones by 0.6 of a second on Casey Atwood.
Casey's having a tougher time getting by the lap cars than Buckshot did. Of course, he hasn't gotten past Borkowski yet either, so stay tuned. We'll let you know on that one.
There you see Casey having gotten by P.J. Jones.
Buckshot just radioed to his crew and said, tell him I'll give him his lap back if a caution comes out. I bet. Borkowski moved over and let him go.
Well, you know, I'm just watching Steve Park, and he's not closing in like he was.
No, right now, Steve Park is hanging there 4 9/10 seconds behind Buckshot in 3rd spot. Mike McLaughlin apparently done for the day. Larry Mack.
Well, Mike, he was running 3rd, and looks like they had to push it behind the wall. What exactly happened to you, Chevrolet, there?
We're not really sure. Something under the hood, just lost power. Not meant to be. Hearts and prayers are out to the Petty family.
Very dejected Mike McLaughlin, but obviously his heart is in the right place, and he'll have to come back in a couple of weeks when we get to Charlotte.
26th in points right now, as opposed to 8th in points a year ago. There's the leader. He has a second, Buckshot Jones does, on Casey Atwood. At lap number 88, has not stopped since. Does he have enough to go the distance? That's the question everybody's wondering about right now. Buckshot Jones has the lead, 1 2/10 seconds over Casey Atwood. But the question remains, will the tank run dry before the hanky waves?
Well, he just heard from his pit crew, and the pit crew told him it's going to be close, and it almost certainly will. And, you know, we're looking at some computer stuff that Larry Mack showed us a little while ago, and the computers are all well and good, but they presume that you're going to get every drop out of the tank that's there. And sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't.
Glenn, is anybody breathing in Buckshot's pit right now?
Well, you can take a look at Sandy Jones. He's doing a lot of calculating right now. I'm going to ask him the question. Oh, how about it, Sandy? You got enough fuel to make it?
I didn't hear a word you said.
Well, you know what I'm asking. Do you have enough fuel to make
caution?
Problems on the main straightaway. Jimmy Johnson does a couple of 360s and pulls away, but the caution is out. Now they'll slow down under the caution speed. That'll help Buckshot Jones.
Well, it helps in one way, hurts in another, because Green has worked his way back up to 4th right now. He is the quickest car on the Speedway by far, and that'll put him right behind them with fresher tires. So the whole thing is totally up for grabs now.
Glenn, let's get back to you now and talk with Sandy Jones, or at least about their fuel situation.
Okay, and Sandy, he's talking to Buckshot right now. Sandy, I'm asking you, do you think you have enough fuel? Will these caution laps help or hurt?
Well, these caution laps are going to help us, definitely. We're going to be real close. Well, we had it figured we might have made it on the white flag lap maybe about halfway, so this is definitely going to help us.
The reason I asked if it would hurt, though, that's putting Jeff Green with fresh tires up there closer to you.
Yeah, he's coming pretty fast. We realize that, but Buckshot's doing a great job in this Cheezick Chevrolet, and we think we can hold him off.
Well, you heard it from Sandy himself right there. Buckshot won this race, when was it, guys? 1998?
Yep. Well, Sandy was double clutching on that first answer, though. I don't know. I saw him reach for another gear there. Here's what happened to bring out this 8th caution off of our speed shot camera here on the main straightaway, looking for Jimmy Johnson. That would be he spinning into your living room.
And a bunch of cars coming through that smoke that absolutely couldn't see him spinning there.
Now there's Michael Rich. He is stopped at the exit of turn number 4. Now I don't know if he has had fuel starvation problems, but he was running in 5th.
He's wanting to get in the pits because he's waving, please, let's go, let's go.
Michael Rich and his Ford Taurus stopping coming out of turn number 4. And he was on that same pit stop sequence as well.
If they ran out with 14 laps to go, they really missed the calculation. He's running now.
Larry, what are they saying?
Well, I talked to Skip Aller. He called me over there because he knew I had been by earlier and asked him. He said, Larry, we just misfigured. But I've got to make a speculation here. If they was in here on lap 98, 102 laps to go, with 13 to go, they're out. They had to have not gotten that car filled. He pulls it to the tension of the pits. Finally, they stick a little gas in it. He gets it fired, and it's going to be hard to keep it running. They get enough gas in it. Now the squirting ether down in the air cleaner just can't get it going right now. Once they run out, they're hard to get going again. They're going to push it down pit road. Keeps firing and stalling. Still squirting ether in the air cleaner, and they push him away. Really turned a good day into a bad day for Michael Rich.
Now remember, though, Buckshot, he stopped at lap 88, so that does add a few more laps to the equation before all is said and done. Matt Abernathy will give the field the 1-to-go signal when they get back to the stripe, so we'll be going back to green in 1 more mile.
Michael Rich finally got it running again down far in the pit road, but lost a lot of time.
Taking a look at who's where. Good run, Andy Santerre. Haven't talked much about Jason Keller today, but he has persevered nicely. Hank Parker Jr. and Elton Sawyer, the winner a year ago. Ted Christopher right now in 12th spot, doing yeoman's duty in that number 7 car that's owned by Michael Waltrip. Plans to run not only here, but at Watkins Glen International later this season.
I bet Buckshot would like for him to go about 3 more laps under caution, and then he would have a real good shot if he's even close. But they're pretty good at figuring these things out, and the pickups are so well placed in these tanks anymore that they get most of the fuel out of there. Big problem is how well Green and these guys get off here as they throw the flag again.
Glenn in the middle of that pack of traffic right there, that black and gold 36, Tim Fedewa up to 6th now.
Yeah, he got up that way because Michael Rich had his fuel problems, but Tim's car is real tight right now. The last set of tires they put on, it just tightened the car up too much. He just can't turn it, so his lap times are off. He is just, he's a little frustrated. Everybody down here knows that they had the car to win the race. Just didn't work out for him today. I'll be surprised if he can get up much closer than 5th.
Here we go to settle it in the Busch 200. 10 laps to go.
And Buckshot got a terrific start. I mean, just opened up on Casey Atwood.
Yeah, the cars behind them are trying to get by these lap cars right now, and they're running a very nasty line around this racetrack, which is higher around the corners.
Look at the 31 on the bottom, Steve Park, looking for second spot.
He's going to get it, too.
He is.
So Casey Atwood now is back to third. Then the orange machine is a lap down. P.J. Jones, that blue machine, that's Jeff Green with the pressure tires that Sandy Jones is talking about. And here comes Speedway in the number 36 car.
What happened there, Speedway got a run because the two of them were fighting off the corner, and Green didn't get a good run up out of the corner.
All the while, though, by 1 1/10 of a second now, Buckshot Jones has pulled away with the lead.
Borkowski in the 20, holding him back.
Yeah, Parks won't waste too much time there, I don't think. He's on the inside right now. The preferred line, they'll put him away.
Borkowski is in 20th spot there, and he now lets the leaders go by. Can second through fourth.
Buckshot is out of gas.
Fuel.
Out of gas.
Buckshot Jones is out of fuel with 9 laps to go. The leader is Steve Park now, who takes over the top spot. Steve Park takes over the top spot. They came up just that amount shy. And now this is the battle for the lead.
Here we go. Jeff Green on the inside of Tim Speedway as they head down into turn 1. Couldn't make it.
Park, Atwood, Speedway, and Jeff Green. Yep, you could tell old Sandy Jones was double clutching. Trouble off turn 2.
Trouble. Teddy Christopher in the wall.
Hard hit for Ted Christopher. Now the question is, as they come back to the stripe, will they be able to get the track cleaned off in time to resume the race? Here comes Steve Park. He'll take the caution. Everybody else who's involved in the accident now has managed to drive away. There goes Dick Trickle. Here comes Buckshot onto the pit lane. Only Ted Christopher remains out there in turn 2, so they ought to be able to get the track cleaned off.
Big fire.
Fire.
Major
In the middle of the
problem.
backstretch, Trickle.
Look at Trickle. He just wants to get back in.
He's still driving that thing.
Yeah.
Trickle, time to leave. Get out of the car.
Well, the fire's out.
He's still going.
But no, it's not out. It's still up
he's
on
still
the left
burning.
front corner.
He's still burning and still driving.
This onboard shot is just remarkable.
Can you try any harder than that? That was a big crash.
They are grabbing the red flag. We are going to have a red flag here because of the cleanup on the turn 2 and backstretch area, and to have this race conclude in a competitive mode.
Boy, do I applaud them for that action there. You don't want to go around there, maybe cut a tire down and take yourself out. That's very, very smart on NASCAR's part.
There is a lot of debris off turn 2, not only from Dick Trickle, but 2 or 3 other cars spun. Plus, you saw Ted Christopher go hard into the wall in the number 7, the car owned by Michael Waltrip. And there is debris strewn across the racetrack. So caution on the speedway, and then the red flag. Let's take a look at what happened out there in turn number 2.
Yeah, Christopher's already sideways in that deal.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. there. They made contact, he and Christopher. You can see
17, Jason Schuler. You saw him go around. Watch it again. Out of turn 2.
There's Trickle coming straight up the wall there.
There was Raines got involved. Tony Raines did in the 33. And there's debris all over the place out there.
Look at Trickle driving this car on fire. Can you imagine driving a car on fire, trying to get to the pits to get them to fix it so you can finish the race?
I've done it when I was running 200 miles an hour. I didn't have any other choice. But when he was down that slow, I believe I'd have been bailing.
Yeah.
Let's see what it looked like on board with Dick Trickle. Passing the start-finish line, so they got to come off at turn number 2 yet. Remember, Christopher's going to go ahead there. Sauter was involved in the middle of all that, too. You might have seen the 43 number go flashing across in front of Trickle. Watch it again.
Riding with Jason Leffler now. There goes Trickle by in the 5.
They just all get tangled up in front of him. Trickle almost made it through, didn't he? Yeah. Just caught that left rear tire.
So NASCAR has stopped the Busch 200. Lap 193 on the scoreboard. We are going to have a dandy of a finish. Glad you're with us here on TNN Sports. Welcome back, everybody. Inside the final 10 laps here at the New Hampshire International Speedway, the NASCAR Busch Series race under a red flag. You can see all of that debris from the multi-car incidents out there in turn 2. There goes Dick Trickle's car to the garage area. I'll tell you something, Glenn. I'm not surprised. Tempers all around now starting to get a little short, huh?
Yeah, excuse me, Eli. Yeah, they are. They're, of course, when you get down to a race that's been this closely contested and been a little beating and banging like there always is here at New Hampshire, it gets that way. Little interesting comment from Jeff Green. He actually had one of his guys to come down here. Tim Fedewa pitch. You know, they were racing each other pretty hard. Fedewa got by him, but he had one of his guys come down and say something to Billy Nasmith. Said, tell Tim if he pins me down on the apron one more time that he might get turned around. So there not only are tempers flaring, there's some threats going on too. Buckshot Jones did make it around to the pits, got some fuel, got refired, went back out, but he's a lap down. Here's Larry McReynolds.
Well, Glenn, I've been down here in Steve Park's pit talking to Ted Marsh, who actually owns the car, and Steve Hibbert, who's kind of acting as crew chief. I guess it's spent a lot of days with Steve Park in the modified days. And they kind of got mixed feelings. You know, they know the fans want to see a race end under green, but then I guess if you're leading the race, it depends on what shoes you're wearing. You know, it's like, gosh, couldn't we run a few more cautions? The biggest problem they got, again, as I alluded to earlier, they're a little close on fuel. They'd like to cut the car off, but the biggest fear when you cut a car off this late in a race, with the starter being hot and everything, is will it fire back? So they're going to let it sit there and run and idle and take a chance they got enough fuel to get to the end.
Very, very interesting. This is the 9th caution flag of the day, and this ties a record for 200-lap NASCAR Busch Series races at this track. We had a 9-caution affair back in May of '97. So
Eli, they're saying they're not shutting the car off. It's sitting there with very little opening on the front. If you notice, that's all the air intake, those little spots right there. They have a good deal of the front of that car taped off for downforce. So he's got to also watch the gauges pretty well there, or he could run it hot sitting there.
Just something else to have to think about. This shouldn't be an extensive red flag. There you see the, that's where Schuler and Trickle just did touch. Is when Dick almost got around in front of him. There you see the cleanup, and it shouldn't be too much longer, though they'll have to go through that speedy dry a time or two to spread it around. And remember, too, we'll have just the lead lap cars getting set to go up front. We're inside the final 10 laps. If you're not familiar, the 10-lap rule is a rule that allows for only the lead lap cars to start up front, and they will start in single file formation. So it'll be clear sailing among those machines to settle it amongst themselves. Well, we've had a bit of everything here today, including this spin that sends us to a red flag. Still under the red flag here at New Hampshire after a multi-car accident with 7 laps to go out there in turn number 2. And the twofold reason for the red is, number one, there was so much debris is that NASCAR wanted to make sure nobody went through there and cut through and cut their tires down. Plus, they wanted to have a race that ended under the green. We appreciate the folks there with that TNN license tag.
You know, they got equipment here. Look at that.
Yeah.
Remember when they used to use a broom?
They've got 5. They've got 5 jet blowers here. I mean, the Bayer family does not do anything second rate.
They have not at all been afraid to spend money on this racetrack, and if they found some way to improve it, particularly from the point of view of fans' enjoyment, Bob and Gary Bayer have put the bucks down and made it work out. Everything from traffic flow to get the racetrack cleaned up quickly, to suites, to just make this a more convenient and comfortable racetrack.
There you see the new seats that are being built here at New Hampshire International to accommodate the thousands and thousands of fans who come to the NASCAR Winston Cup events. And there's another angle, and folks who are working on the weekend while also, I guess, keeping one eye on the wood and one eye on the racetrack. But that's just part of what they're expanding here. Folks from Plattsburgh, New York on hand here. And yes, you can see the jackets and the gloves. It is still winter time up here.
Yeah, I was pointing out the amount of the front of these cars is taped off. That is helping right now. They're sitting there running. It is cool outside today.
It was in the 40s this morning when everybody awoke at the hotel in Concord, New Hampshire, just down the road. Larry Mack, give us more on Steve Park's situation.
Well, Buddy Baker, I'm pretty impressed. You made the call. And, you know, I didn't think drivers ever paid attention to the gate.
Come on.
But they had to make a decision to shut the 31 car off. It had gotten to 240 degrees. And again, they're sitting there knowing that even though it's idling, it's using a small amount of fuel. So for two reasons, temperature and fuel consumption, they shut the Steve Park 31 car off.
Way to go, buddy.
Nice job. You know, you look at that car, you see the word Wheeling on the hood, and you see it on the back fender. If there is a sponsor in this part of the country that has helped racers, that is it. They make emergency lights, and boy, they have been there when Northeast racers have needed a hand, needed a sponsor for the side, the back of a race car. They're on a bunch of the Busch North cars here as well, and they do provide the lights here at the Speedway and in a lot of hometowns as well.
Good folks to be involved in racing. You see the cleanup wrapping up. Couple of local guys talking about local businesses. Of course, Steve Park is right there at the head of the parade right now. Remember when he ran around here with Ricky Craven as well, and Featherlight Modified Tour cars. And there's Ricky with the old Speedy number 25 and the Busch Grand National North Series of NASCAR. And great names from up here who have made the move to other successes on other tours. Steve Park with 16 career Featherlight Modified Tour wins. Had a great run last weekend. The top 10 at Richmond International Raceway. Tell you, there are some superb racers up here. You know, some who have gotten some headlines, like a Ted Christopher and Park and Craven, and others who have not, as they're getting set to refire the cars. Guys like Dick McCabe and Stub Fadden. I mean, and the list goes on and on. Dale Shaw. Fellows will be seeing on tomorrow's telecast of the Busch North Series race. You know, guys who'll be talking about a lot of great racers up here.
And speaking of that, I saw Ronnie Bouchard up here yesterday. He won Talladega years back, and quite a driver. Now in business for himself and doing quite well.
There's a car dealership on almost every corner here in New England, it seems. He's done very well for himself. This will be interesting to see when they get this thing going. The guys with the fresh tires are going to start up front now.
Dennis Dillard in the pace car begins to ease away. And everybody apparently refiring okay. Certainly among the leaders, Park, Atwood, Fedewa in that yellow and black machine. Jeff Green in the blue car. Jason Keller. Everybody's pulling away okay, Larry.
Well, they just completed lap 194, and they did not get the one to go. So even if they get the one to go on the next lap, which will be 195, the most this race can go at the end is 4 green laps, and that's if they get the one to go next time. The most important thing for the crews to hammer on these drivers about right here, whether you got old tires, halfway fresh tires, or whatever, is get those tires cleaned off. How you get this race restarted, that's going to be important. Glenn Jarrett?
Well, Larry, you took the words right out of my mouth virtually. I was going to talk about the tires, too. The other thing is they've been sitting there for several minutes. Not only clean them off, but the tires are cold. They don't have the same heat in them, so they've gone through another heat cycle. That's going to be tough on those guys because they're going to have to run hard to try to keep their position, protect their position. They don't really know until they go down there and make a couple of laps or a couple of turns on those tires whether they're going to stick the same way they did before they shut them off there with the red flag. So this could really be interesting.
Everybody making sure what the guys have been talking about, going back and forth, getting all of that debris scrubbed off, trying to build up some degree of temperature. It'll be 5 laps to go when they get to the stripe. We'll wait and see if they give them the one to go signal. Indication is that they are. Now, some of these teams still have some debris flapping off their cars.
Some of that may well wind up on the racetrack before this race ends. Could cut somebody's tire.
Jason Schuler has some as I look out over the racetrack. Well, they did not give them the one to go.
Oh, my.
They did not give them the one to go. They are going to put the 17 car, Jason Schuler. You see, there's debris off the back of Elton Sawyer's machine. They're going to put the black flag out for the 17 of Schuler. He's got a good bit of damage to his car. There you see. Yeah, they don't want that coming loose and having guys run over it. That's a tough break. He's running in 14th right now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a heartbreaker. Here comes the Tony Raines car. We told you of the problems he had. They are going to get the one to go next time by.
And that's got to be a relief to Casey Atwood, because it's been a long time since he has taken fuel on as well. An interesting restart with Steve Park in that 31 car, local guy, has won here 5 times. Casey Atwood behind him in the number 27 car last year in this race, passed more cars than anybody else, never won here. Fidoa has not won since 1998. He is in the number 36 car. He'll be restarting in 3rd spot. Jeff Green in the 10 behind him. He has won as recently as last week.
Yep.
So go ahead. You want an underdog? We got one. You want a favorite? We got one of those. You want a local hero? Got one of those too. All up front. For all the marbles.
All that's important, but let me tell you, if you're in second, you're going to try to anticipate the start. You're not allowed to pass on the inside. You have to go to the outside, but you want to have good momentum when the race starts. Steve Park, on the other hand, is a professional restarter. He's one of the best in the business. You learn that in modified. He's going to be tough to build momentum, because the minute he sees him coming up, anticipate, he'll just sit there. He's the one that starts the race, the leader.
Steve Park in that orange and white number 31. He has won 4 times here at New Hampshire in the NASCAR Featherlight Modified Tour. He has one Busch North Series victory here. As we said earlier, he's run in everything else they have ever run here, but his wins have come in the Modifieds and the Busch North. His best finishes of this year: 17th at Darlington, 13th at Texas, and then the 6th at Richmond a weekend ago. This is his 4th Busch race of the year. Here we go.
Jeff Green got a great start in the blue car there. He got by Fidoa to take over 3rd spot. Oh!
There goes Fidoa. Said, you do it to me, I'm doing it to you. And Atwood is going for the lead also. Atwood in the 27.
He'll have to go out through the infield, but he's making it thick.
Here comes Fidoa. There goes Atwood.
Loose.
And here comes Fidoa to grab the lead.
Sweet.
Here comes
Wide.
Fidoa to grab the lead, our pole sitter. And comes to the stripe with a couple of laps to go. 2 laps to go. Tim Fidoa, who led laps 16 through 128, was pacing himself as he ride with Todd Bodine in 5th. Steve Park back in the mix there. He is going to go all the way back towards 9th. Here comes Hank Parker Jr. in the 53. Inside of the 25 of Santerre. Move Parker Jr. up to 5th. White flag is coming for that man, Tim Fidoa.
And Casey Atwood got shoved right out of the mix there.
Tim Fidoa told us earlier he loves running on the flat tracks.
Cheers.
Oh, and trouble off the corner. Borkowski, Sauter, and Rich all tangle off the turn, but the checkers are coming out for that man, Tim Fidoa. The second time a Busch race has been won from the pole here. Fidoa wins in New Hampshire with a wild finish. What a day.
And a call for Jason Keller there in 3rd place. He got by a lot of cars, as Bodine did, and Hank Parker, a great recovery from several times that he was in wrecks today to pull off a 5th place.
Billy Nasowitz coming on board with that racing team, making a huge difference. There's Big Guy, they call him, right there in the middle of the picture. Everybody trotting to victory lane. Tim Fidoa. What a day for him. What an emotional weekend. Tim Fidoa yesterday in a post-qualifying interview could barely maintain his emotions in the aftermath of Adam Petty's passing.
Looks like we're going to get a little burnout here.
And right here, taking a reverse victory lap, with no doubt many emotions flowing through his heart and mind. Having won in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, both 95 and 98, and then in South Boston, Virginia in 1998, Tim Fedewa gets the win. You saw his wife, Terry, and all the emotion that she was showing seconds ago. And now this reverse victory lap. And here's how it all happened up there in turn 3.
Casey made contact there with Steve Park, and you see Fedewa just coming through on the inside and Green right behind him.
It's amazing they made it through that thing without crashing half the field.
His first top 5 in 8 races here at New Hampshire. Tim Fedewa in what no doubt will be an emotional victory lane when we come back to New Hampshire here on TNN Sports. Tim Fedewa. He had the best car. Took him a while to get back to the front. He is our Bryant Cool driver of the race. Call Bryant to the rescue at 1-888-999 Bryant. A lot of emotions, Glenn.
Yep, he just got a big hug from his dad, Butch, and his wife, Terry, and getting high fives from all the crew now. Tim, turn around here, buddy. First of all, congratulations. But I know your car was a little tight, sitting there letting those tires cool off. Had to help that thing, because, boy, when the green flag fell, it took off.
Yeah, it did. I just got to thank Stanley and Chevrolet Monte Carlo and all the guys that did a great job. It was a great car, and I hated to finish 3rd or 4th with it. And as good as it was, I didn't want to let the guys down. We've had kind of a rough year, as you well know, and I'm just happy for Stanley. Just want to tell Kyle and Patty and all the Pettys that, Adam wasn't my best friend, but he was a heck of an acquaintance, and he made you feel like he was your best friend, and I know you feel the same way, and everybody else does. So just like to dedicate it to Adam and the Petty family, and maybe it will just make them a little bit happier.
Well, I know that they'll appreciate that. He was a friend to all of us. Billy Nasmith has made a great big difference in this race team.
Well, he has. He's brought a lot of experience and a lot of guidance for me as well. When you get down, it's hard to come back sometimes, and he gives you a little bit more confidence. He gives the guys confidence in their jobs, and that all shows up on the racetrack. So, like I said, I got to thank Stanley and York and all these people have stood with us, Frank and Scott, for sticking with me through a pretty rough year so far. But this is what we need to turn around. We knew we could win a couple races this year, and we just got to do it. And today we had the car to do it.
And he did it. Tim Fedewa led 152 laps, found victory lane for the first time since July 1998. Gets a big hug from his wife, Terry. Back to you, Eli.
Fine performance for Tim Fedewa. It is the 4th race of this year won by the pole winner and the 7th Chevrolet victory in the Busch Series in the year 2000. Welcome back, everybody. The NASCAR Busch Series continues with a remarkable streak here at New Hampshire International Speedway. Tim Fedewa, the 14th different winner in the 14 races here. Look at Hank Parker Jr. Comes home in 5th here today. Good run for him. Steve Park backslid all the way to 10th. Kevin Harvick deserved better than 18th, didn't he?
Oh, yes, he certainly did.
And so did Ted Christopher deserve better than 29th, and Dick Trickle better than 30th.
And poor McLaughlin all the way back in 33rd spot, just can't catch a break.
So that's going to do it. Been a day in which we were concerned about the weather, but we were able to get this race in to its fullest. Tim Fedewa's 210th NASCAR Busch Series race, and with that move, late in the afternoon, he gives Terry a reason to turn those tears into smiles. Tim Fedewa wins here at New Hampshire International Speedway. For Dick Bergman, Buddy Baker, Glenn Jarrett, Larry McReynolds, I'm Eli Gold. thanks so much for joining us on this Mother's Day weekend here at New Hampshire. We'll see you tomorrow with our coverage of the NASCAR Busch North Series race. Until then, our congratulations again to Tim Fedewa. So long from New Hampshire.